Hey, my name is TJ. I'm a young person in long-term recovery, and for me that means I have not had a drink or a drug since August 9th, 2016. I'm here hosting the Recovery Matters podcast with
Eric Providence.
I'm so glad to have you on today. Thank you so much for coming.
Yes, it's my pleasure.
Tell me what life was like for you growing up.
Well, I come from a loving family, dad, mom. I'm one of 6 boys. My father came over from Guyana.
All right.
Met my mother in a 6-week span. They were married.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to have 6 boys, and here we go.
Yeah.
Coming up again, the house was very, very strict in the manner. My mother did, she bent a lot of rules and stuff, or not even saying that, gave us a little bit more leeway opposed to like what my dad would have. He was always that pay attention type guy, something that resonates with me today, paying attention. And, life was beautiful. My mother, she graduated, she got a college degree from Gardner College up in Montpelier, Vermont, with 6 boys. Board of Education had started a whole new program. At that time, my first 3 years, kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, I went to school year round. When I came to public school, a lot of things were different in the 4th grade. And I was a teacher's pet, but I was allowed to go walk around with boa constrictors on my neck and just run her down, going in and out of rooms and, at free will for the most part. When my mother found out that I was not being taught the curriculum, that I was a teacher's pet, teachers loved me, whatever it is, my personality, I guess. I remember her, every night sitting with me, getting my pronunciations correct, my writing and everything, just going over homework and all this other stuff. But I still didn't adjust in school.
Okay.
That was always an issue for me. So I met a young lady, I think I was around 12, 13. She was a couple of years older than me. We started experimenting, doing a lot of other things, cigarette smoking, getting people to go in the package store, get wine, and, pulling up weed plants, you understand, can't tell us again. I remember us, actually smoking sage, thinking that we were smoking hash. You know what I mean? We would get together back then, and party and, and make all different type of bongs out of toilet paper, sit in the car, out of the toilet paper roll, and sit in the aluminum foil and sit in the car and smoke and,
Getting high.
Getting high.
Yep.
That led me to getting kicked out of school because of the different things that was happening in my life, and my father wasn't having it. So when I turned 18 years of age, I remember my father and my brother already put my brother out, a year older than me, put me out right after that. And I remember my brother introducing me to how to hustle in the street, what he was doing to make a living. You just had to be a smooth talker, one of the things, the laws that I live by. The first 3 letters of control and the first 3 letters of conversation spells count. That was a law in the streets. Control the momentum of your conversation, and you get damn near anything that you want. But so is life itself. If you can stay in control of your conversation and know how to stay in control of self, you understand, again, people really take to that type of stuff. I understand today the power of words that,
Yep.
And that was, again, I remember when I first hit the streets, I used to walk around with a sawed-off shotgun and bags of heroin and a bag full of cocaine. That was my job. I recall going to the clubs and stuff like that, and, again, that party time, I never wanted to stop. Now, at this time, I'm still just smoking marijuana and drinking strawberry cow. That was my drink, or some Riri or something like that, I never really got into hard wines and stuff like that. I started out smoking in the marijuana.
Woo bangers.
What they call woolers.
Yep.
That little thing there, boy, that little fizzle and that taste, there was something about that fizzle and that taste, because in the pipe, I could never really feel the effect of it.
Okay.
One day I tried the pipe, and I got it.
Yep.
And I caught it, and that really, really took me to a whole nother level. My dependency and stuff like that for these here drugs is like, again, I didn't know at the time that, what I say today, what started out as having fun, what cost me that much time out of my life.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people talk about relapse and all that other stuff, but I never relapsed because I never stopped.
Yeah.
Was ready, available in the prisons and everything else, But that became my second home, prison.
Okay.
From prison to the streets, back to prison, chasing and running around, and really, really living in New York City. That transfer city was just a bigger yard to run around in.
Yep.
And that thing there, I would get lost 6 months at a time, stuck, voluntarily become homeless, chasing a drug, crack then. It went from free base to crack. I remember the times, like again in New York, when crack first came out. Very inexpensive, so ready, accessible. Some real wild times because of my high tolerance as far as getting high. It wasn't about smoking marijuana no more.
Yep.
It was about
you wanted cocaine.
Yeah, it was about that cocaine and the cracks. And then when they had that, what they call that ready rock, Jack, you understand? My philosophy was, again, I could go ahead and hustle, sell, get high, and never, have to worry about doing other things, just to really continue to do what I was doing. So many different things that's happened, things that I'm not honing in on. But as I'm talking, I'm thinking about just like the disease of the addiction and the things that not only what I did, but what I've seen other people do.
Yep.
Chasing this here madness, was just for one more.
Yep.
One more. It was always about that next one, I see homelessness and stuff like that today, like a lot of times. Again, yes, you have some people who have really lost situations and stuff like that. They had the hotels because they had the fires or whatever it is. But for months, and this is coming from me, I volunteered to live in the street. To chase a drug. I remember living in the street, heating my water up, you understand, and the little buckets and stuff like that, on the little man cover with the steam coming up, putting the top on it so I have warm water. I remember having the key to the Johnny pump to get clean water, having something clean there. Every time we lit up to get high, gnats would come out. Literally, the mice running around inside the house. It was a house that wasn't livable for people, livable conditions and stuff like that.
It was condemned.
It was condemned for the most part. And I left my family because I never did it around my family because I never wanted to bring that around what I was doing. So I stayed in the streets.
Yeah.
Kept me for years in bondage.
Yes.
Chasing that high. You understand? The disease of which I understand today about the disease of addiction, man, is very, very powerful. It took me so long to find out who I was.
Well, tell me about getting into recovery. What was that like for you?
How I got here was the TWA, a thoroughly whipped ass.
I like that.
Some people died. They overdosed. They got beat up. They got shot. That was real close.
Yeah, you saw the people that you were really close with losing their lives.
I remember when fentanyl really started taking over. They were literally giving this out as samples. I didn't know what it was. You understand? When somebody say, man, here go a few things, man, let's give it away and make you some money, do what you want to do with it. I didn't know what it was. All I know is, again, I had a substance in my thing, you understand? So when I started seeing and hearing about different stuff, and I just started seeing things, and this is what a guy I used to hustle with, man, like 25 years ago, we were partners. He got into a beef with my brother behind my nephew's mother.
Okay.
My brother beat him up. He saw me on the same block while I was in my van. He's like, yo. He said, yo, what's up, my man? Yo, here go a few dollars, go get a few things or whatever. He laced the joint, was trying to get me to really flip out. He laced it with some dust and some other stuff. As he seen me transforming, he said, man, why you ain't 25? Why you ain't come to my aid, man, when me and your brother had this, that, and the third? I said, yo, for real, you just went back 25 years? You've been holding something again, now you trying to hurt me? And I felt it. And I ran to my van. Gentleman came out, asked him to go get me some milk. I said, I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this. I'm going to die in the street. I hear a lot of people talking about, man, you understand, I don't want to die. That's something we all going to leave here.
Yeah.
But dying clean, that's my mission.
Yeah.
With
I
no
like
substances, stuff like that, that dying clean, you understand? I'll never forget the first time ever in my life when I asked for help, when I was in that fetal position because I didn't know what I was going to do. My mother's 80th birthday. Yeah, I'll be there, I'm going to cook this and everything else, you know. I didn't make it.
Yep.
You know, I didn't make it because I was chasing one.
Yes.
Chasing that high. You know, my family was so used to me. Again, they knew if they didn't hear from me, whatever, they knew more than likely I was in jail. The next day was my mother's actual birthday, October 22nd, 2018. And I called my mother up. I said, Mom, I love you. Happy day of birth. And I'm going to go get some help. Had a wife, a son, you know, that I was really involved with. And these are the things that really started my mind going into the respect of, again, to that I have to find a different way. I need help. All I knew is I needed help.
Yep.
I'll never forget those different experiences again, you know, me like giving my card for somebody to go get money out the ATM because I couldn't move, because I was scared or I was stuck in, you know, just my mental health playing tricks on me. You know, my paranoias and everything, a lot of things started setting in. I was at a real breaking point where I was just like, again, just so I know I needed help. I went back to where I used to work because I knew where the help was.
Okay.
So I was a case manager at Columbus House, and I went back to my coworker. Yo, my man, I said, I need some help. He said, man, Eric, if you was here, man, 3 days ago, I could have got you a job, you know, this and that, whatever. I said, no, I don't need that type of help. He said, oh. And we started making calls.
Nice.
From that point. I got in and went and did a TB test and everything else, did all the necessary things to get into recovery. I sat in that hard chair. When they say get up in the morning, got myself together, continental breakfast. Woo.
Yep.
Coming up on a little bit more than 6.5 years. And, you know,
awesome.
I'm very much involved in my personal recovery. I always used to say the whole world is in recovery, but the vast majority is in a state of denial because they don't know what they're recovering from. But there's a lot of people who have never made it across the street, but they're trying. So we meet people where they're at, you understand? And ask them, how's it working? How can I help you?
Yeah,
you know?
I like that.
You really, just like, again, just as little as that. You know, some of the little simple things in life. And I think, again, that's one of the major things, again, with this disease of addiction that we get tripped up in because of not only that, and fear plays a part. A lot of people never don't turn a different corner. They stay right there. I was in New York restaurant school when I blew trial. When I got to the state facility, I was the second graduating class from Quick Shell. I ran and I mastered the mess hall on all shifts. I came home, I was an overnight baker in the Port Authority for 3 stores. I was one of the top bakers back then. Then I worked for an awesome organization, had my own kitchen, ARC, Addicts Rehabilitation Center.
Nice.
Everything was from scratch, all the cooks, you know. I'm a fairly decent cook.
That's awesome.
And weighing in what I could do, it started positioning me. Little did I know what I was doing in the prison because I was an IPA inmate program assistant, stuff like that, working in the substance abuse units and stuff like that inside the prisons and stuff like that. And being that resourceful inside the jails and stuff had prepared me for where I'm at today. I didn't know, you know, that I would be in this position as a recovery coach in the prisons. I mean, this is nothing like case management. This is nothing like being a sponsor. None of this other. This is something, again, it's just me, man, meeting people where they at, man. You understand? And letting them know, man, listen, man, we right here, eye to eye. There's no big eyes, no little U's. You understand? I'm right here with you. You know, the main thing I love about it is when you see the light go off and you see individuals who really embrace what they need to do for themselves
Yep.
and know that they have the support and building a network of people with them is very beautiful.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It is.
If you had to give somebody advice, initial support in their first day in recovery, what would that be?
Sit down and buckle up and go for the ride. Get ready to have a good time, a time of your life. Give yourself a chance.
Yep.
Give yourself a chance. I don't want to see nobody, man, experience just a piece of what I went through. So I'd ask and tell a lot of people, man, please, man, don't do it, man. Or I might even say, you fuck around and try that and like it. You mess around and try that and like it. That might be it. My pathway to recovery is everything I did that's behind me that got me right here, right now. Everything that happened, both bad and good, that's what I stand 10 toes down on. Those experiences. But more importantly, my pathway for recovery is everything what I do to maintain that today. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today.
Yeah.
Today, you know, I'm a loving son, a loving father, a loving grandfather. Recovery is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, recovery is.
And you're in recovery when you say you are. Identify what you're recovering from so you can move forward.
Yeah.
You understand? The help is there. The support is there.
Thank you very much for coming on today. I really appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you just as well, man. You're saying in what we do. You know, and I'm glad to be a part of a team, man. You understand?
Yeah.
That's moving mountains.
Thank you.
You know, thank you.
Of course.
All right, my man.
Yes, sir.